Scanning for audio.
Welcome to a Tin Dog podcast. This time I'm going to be talking about the Revisitation Box set number 2. Now, I did intend doing Seeds of Death, then Carnival of Monsters, then Resurrection of the Daleks, all in separate podcasts, but, well, I'm a little bit pushed for time, and of course they all come out in one box set. It's not like you can buy just one of them, unless you go onto eBay and buy the old ones that people are selling because they've bought the new box set. Yes, I know. That's not important right now. Look, here's the trailer for all 3, and then I'll start talking to you.
Roll up and see the monster show, a carnival of monsters. If you will watch the glow sphere, we will shortly be seeing the most evil, the most vicious, and undoubtedly the most frightening form of life in the whole of the universe.
Hello. Topping day, what?
Something alive over there! Doctor!
What the deuce is it? It's a plesiosaurus. Run for it, Joe!
They'll never make it.
Something's wrong, Joe.
They're already as good as dead.
Look!
Once the Dressish get their scent, they won't stand a chance.
Doctor!
Just a minute.
Doctor! Doctor, can you hear me?
I think I'm getting something. Stop! I'm a genius.
Search control, this is Moon Base. Emergency.
It's a place where you
Kill him.
run!
Do you realize what you're doing?
I'm trying to save our lives.
If you're going to invade the Earth, you'll never succeed. There'll be too much resistance.
There is no defense against our plan.
What are these things? They look like sea pods.
This time, there will be no escape. Very soon, Earth will be ours for the taking.
Oh, look.
Just a loose connection somewhere. I'll switch back to circuit 3.
What is this?
These creatures are called, Daleks, I believe.
Take cover!
Release Davros.
Where are you going?
To kill Davros.
Unwise to provoke the Daleks, Doctor.
You mean it can get worse?
Oh, yes.
Welcome, Doctor. Now you are here. You will be paid for the mental agony I suffered.
I'm not here as your prisoner, Davros, but your executioner.
That's wonderful. Really is magnificent. This is absolutely vintage stuff.
Actually, before I begin talking about the box sets, I just want to thank everyone who sent me emails and tweets telling me how much they enjoyed this year's Solo Con. It means a lot to me. Obviously, I've enjoyed absolutely everybody's podcasts and reports and blogs about Gallifrey, but this year, hopefully, I'll be getting 2 Dimensions on Time as well as Hooverville. So there will be reports coming from the TDP as well. Also, it's important to note that although I record these way in advance, there will be, after this show, a short gap of a couple of weeks while I finish off a major project. I'm sure you'll all understand when I say this is very important, and I do need the time, and podcasting does take a little bit more time than you think. A 10-minute show can take out an entire evening, and that's just the recording and editing. Research and note-making and sheer just pondering takes up a large portion of time. So if you don't mind, there will be another podcast along very, very, very soon. Just give it a couple of weeks. Okay? Don't worry. I haven't pod faded or gone away or any of the things that you hear about. No, I will be back. Probably be back with a review of this rather nice John Pertwee story involving some spiders.
Who are you?
They call me the Great One.
Spiders?
I have come to give you the power you seek.
This give us power?
More power than you dared to dream of. Stop! If you come any further, Doctor, you will die, and I need you alive.
Doctor, please wake up.
The moment approaches.
What moment?
The moment I have been waiting for.
Where did the crystal come from, anyway?
Oh, I brought it back some time ago from a planet called Metebelis 3.
Ready.
Has strange properties, a Metebelis crystal. Can affect the mind.
Mind? You mean it could drive someone mad?
You took the one last perfect crystal of power. I must have it.
No. No, never.
Good grief.
You know what you have to do?
Is there no other way?
None.
Give me the crystal. I shall be the ruler of the entire universe.
Please, don't die.
Tear? Sarah Jane? No, don't cry. While there's life.
So enough preamble. What about this box set? Well, it consists of 6 discs. That's 3 stories. Chronologically speaking, the stories go Seeds of Death, Carnival of Monsters, and Resurrection of the Daleks. Seeds of Death and Seeds of Doom I always got mixed up in my head just because of the titles. They've got absolutely nothing in common apart from their titles. Seeds of Death is the second Ice Warrior story. Here's what the press release says about the story. It is the 21st century and Earth is totally dependent on TMAT, a revolutionary form of instant travel. When the system breaks down, the Doctor and friends make a hazardous journey to the relay station on the Moon, only to find that it has fallen into the hands of the Ice Warriors, who plan to invade Earth. Can the Doctor outwit the evil Ice Warriors and destroy the fungus in time to save a dying world? It's a 6-part story, told over 2 DVDs. But then, when the DVD came out last time, it was also told over 2 DVDs, like Talons of Wen-Chiang, but when that was in the last box set, that got an extra disc. I'll talk about the extras in a moment. First, I better talk about the story itself. As I said in the press release reading, it's basically the second Doctor, Jamie and Zoe, turning up on Earth and trying to solve a problem. Now, normal procedure with this kind of thing is you have a 4-part story and a 2-part story bolted together to make one 6-part. Here, it's more like 3 lots of 2-part stories. There's the arrival on Earth, figuring out what's wrong. There's getting to the Moon, figuring out what's wrong on the Moon. Travelling back to Earth, figuring out what's wrong on Earth, and sorting it all out. And yes, it does bear a lot, well, not resemblance, it just owes a lot to, well, Star Trek. Yes, I know Star Trek's teleporter was hardly the first to use teleportation technology, but it's basically just a transporter accident. One massive global transporter accident. The story does feel quite slow, and it's completely held alive by the acting. The Ice Warriors are good. They're always good. But here we've got an extra Ice Warrior character slid in at the side, an Ice Lord. He's about a foot shorter than the others and stands in the campest fashion known to man. He has a sparkly helmet. It's nice that the rasping Ice Warrior voice isn't used when they're in their own atmosphere. Perhaps it's an oversight, but I don't actually think it is. In many respects, it's just another Base Under Siege storyline. Some people desperate to escape or not to escape or whatever, they can't escape, it doesn't really matter. You know exactly what a Base Under Siege storyline entails. It's good, don't get me wrong, just it's 6 episodes long if you take it in comparison to a modern Doctor Who story. Well, it just feels slow. If you've not experienced the Second Doctor in any of his forms, it's a lovely way to buy this box set. The extras on this disc are, well, quite numerous. There's an audio trailer which lasts 45 seconds. Now this is an off-air amateur recording of the original BBC One trailer for the story. Of course, that's fine. What you've actually got, the best bit on disc 1, is the commentary, and that's with Fraser Hines, Wendy Padbury and Michael Ferguson, and script editor Terence Dix. So that's not bad at all. Of course, everyone starts saying how lovely Pat was and what a complete professional he was, and that's fine. There's a coming soon, which I suspect you may or may not have just heard, and our beloved programme subtitles. The second disc, now that's got some very nice documentaries on it. There's Lords of the Red Planet. Now that's a making of documentary. A very, very well put together one. That one's got Wendy Padbury, Fraser Hines, again the director, and again Terence Dix, but also Bobby Bartlett and TV historian Richard Bignell. It's narrated by Catherine Mount. It's really nicely done. You forget that we're kind of spoilt with extras when it comes to entertain. There is Sowing the Seeds, and that's spelt with far too many S's. That's the Ice Warrior and Ice Lord, that's the actors and the makeup designer, all recall their experiences of bringing the Martian warriors to life. Deeply interesting, and it's also got a bit of Bernard Breslow thrown in. At 3 minutes 44, Monster Masterclass does feel like a bit, well, that was edited from somewhere else and they didn't quite know where else to put it. There's a lovely little documentary lasting about 17 minutes with Nick, voice of the Daleks, Briggs, that's what it says here, yeah, let's let it go. And Doctor Who magazine's assistant editor, Peter Ware. Hooray, Peter! And they take a look at the reasons why some monsters often return for further adventures. In addition, of course, you've got the photo gallery and TARDIS Cam number 6. That's one of those little model things that they used to shove on DVDs in the early days when they were trying to find their ways. And, of course, as always, the Radio Times listings as PDF. Bless them. So, is this story any good? Yes, it does plod a bit. It's got the Ice Warriors in it. They're great. It's got some fantastic camera work. Stuff we could really learn from these days. Yes, the BBC foam monster is wheeled out, and yes, there is just far too much slapstick at that point. Weather control isn't on the moon, it's actually somewhere off a park, it doesn't matter. Some of the costumes owe more to James Bond episodes or the Avengers than perhaps I'd like, but it's hardly a crime, and yeah, it's well worth watching. After this black and white extravaganza comes something even more of an extravaganza in the Carnival of Monsters. Carnival of Monsters does not, I repeat, not have anything to do whatsoever with Doctor Who Live. There's nothing on this disc to say anything otherwise, despite the fact that the character in this is called Vogue and the other guy's called Voganson, and yes, the storyline was ripped basically from this story. But here, you wouldn't know it. It's hardly mentioned. Well, it's not mentioned at all. There's no live disc thrown in that we thought there would be. No, here it's concentrating almost exclusively on the story at hand. Not a bad thing at all. Carnival of Monsters, for me, was first introduced in one of those repeat runs from the early 80s on BBC Two. I think it may have been my first ever John Pertwee. It threw me a little bit. It seemed less serious than the Doctor Who I was used to, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Story-wise, it's quite good. It's more good the more you think about it. It stands up to rewatch incredibly well. Story-wise, what's it about? Well, in the press release it's summed up in one paragraph. Carnival of Monsters. The Doctor and Joe take the TARDIS on a test flight and arrive on a cargo ship, SS Bernice, that appears to be crossing the Indian Ocean in 1926, but is in fact trapped inside a miniscope, a banned peep show of miniaturized life forms on the planet Inner Minor. Doesn't really say a lot, but to say any more than that is a spoiler. You've got two completely different parallel storylines going on, and you're sitting there watching it all the way through episode 1 going, how do these storylines possibly come together? As a kid, I was completely intrigued. I was used to Doctor Who being, here's your narrative and it keeps going. If anything is happening, it joins in quite quickly. But here, we had people on board a ship, and some bloke, right as far as I was concerned, the bloke out of Heidi High. And it's a knowing nod to the audience. It's not just a piece of fluff. Yes, Vogue does say that his purpose is just to amuse. It's nothing political. Is that really Robert Holmes' view of Doctor Who? I'm not completely convinced it is. Yes, it was the bloke from Heidi High, and yes, it was frivolous and the costumes were very garish. But that was the point of the story, wasn't it? There are some temporal errors, things like the Doctor saying he made sure they were banned on Gallifrey, and this is the last surviving one. But surely this is from a time before they were banned. I just don't know. I don't want to spoil it for anyone. Suffice to say it's a very, very good story, and much better than it appears on paper. And so what of the extras on Carnival of Monsters? Well, first off, there are 2 commentaries. The first, that's with Katie Manning and Barry Letts. The second commentary is actor Peter Halliday, Cheryl Hall, Jenny McCracken, script editor Terence Dix, sound effects editor Brian Hodgson, and it's all moderated by good old Toby Haydock. Elsewhere, of course, you have episode 2, an early edit. This runs at 29 minutes 44 seconds, and it's longer, but it also features the subsequently rejected Delaware version of the theme music, here presented completely unrestored. There's a behind the scenes, which is only just under 2 minutes long, on the studio floor inside the gallery during the production of the story, courtesy of a film crew, the BBC's Looking In documentary. Visual effects models, duration just under 9 minutes. This is an expanded version of the feature, including unused model shots, trims and tests. The 5 Faces of Doctor Who trailer, duration just over 4 minutes. This is a trail for the 1981's repeat season, which saw many of Doctor Who's classic stories, including Carnival of Monsters, repeated for the first time in many years. This is where I first saw this story, so I'm guessing I was 9. Director's amended editing. This again lasts just over a minute. This is for the 5 Faces repeat of the story. Barry Letts took the opportunity to re-edit the ending and remove a shot, a very obviously bad bald cap, which he always felt spoiled the show. Running at 3 minutes and 7, there's a CSO, that's colour separation overlay, demonstration. Now this is director Barry Letts. He's very keen on these possibilities offered by the system, and this is sort of the training film where he demonstrates the technique. TARDIS cam number 2, nice CGI model of the TARDIS. Again the coming soon, and again the PDF materials. That's all disc 1. Disc 2, this contains Destroy All Monsters, which is a nice, if slightly long, making of documentary. Following on from that, we have another in the really, really good series, On Target, this time covering Ian Marter. Actor Ian Marter played Andrews in this story before going on to play the marvellous Harry Sullivan. But he was also a writer and novelised many of the previous Doctor Who adventures for Target book range. This has got to Elizabeth Sladen, Tom Baker, Nick Courtney, and several others, including Gary Russell, all making an appearance. After that, we've got a nice documentary running at just over 11 minutes, The A to Zs of Gadgets and Gizmos. This is a tongue-in-cheek look at gadgets and gizmos in the Doctor Who universe, narrated by Paul Jones. Then, really nice documentary, Mary Celeste, running just over 18 minutes. Just as the SS Bernice disappeared in the Indian Ocean in this story, many real-life ships have mysteriously disappeared too. Here, a trio of maritime experts discuss some of the events, including perhaps the most famous maritime mystery of all time, the strange case of the Mary Celeste. Finally, a nice photo gallery. And that kind of brings to a close the second story, the second DVD set in this trilogy, bringing us rather nicely to the third.
Urgent subspace communication incoming.
Just a quick note to say that I'm selling one of my most prized possessions, a handmade, solid silver police box pendant. There was only ever a handful of these made, and I'm selling this one with some regret. If you'd like to see this or indeed buy it, then please visit the Tin Dog website at www.tin-dog.co.uk and click on the banner on the right hand side. Remember that you can also buy a Whostrology, as well as donate to help keep the Tin Dog podcast running. Thanks for listening. Be seeing you.
The other mind has now left the Matrix.
Resurrection of the Daleks has been released at least twice before, once as part of the Davros box set, once on its own, and I was surprised it was coming out again. Here's what the paperwork says about the story. The Doctor and his companions are captured in a time corridor and are forced to land on 20th century Earth, diverted by the Doctor's oldest enemies, the Daleks. It is here that the true purpose of the time corridor becomes apparent. After 90 years of imprisonment, Davros, the ruthless creator of the Daleks, is to be liberated to assist the resurrection of his army, but even the Daleks foresee the poisonous threat presented by their creator. Indeed, who would suspect Davros of wanting to destroy his own Daleks, and why? In many respects, it's not a brilliant story, and this is odd, because at the time I remember it being fabulous to watch. You got to see your first true collared mutant attack someone. It had Rodney Bewes in it. What more did you need? Rula Lenska. And anyone at Tachyon TV can go down that road. But no, it was just great to watch. It was the Fifth Doctor, it was Tegan's last story, Turlough was pulling in a decent performance, everyone was strong and everyone was just kind of barreling along. Nobody really stopped to ask what the hell was going on. Nobody really bothered figuring out about the Magellan virus or why they would plant it on Earth when they were going to invade later. All of these things are the sort of thing that would occur to us as fans much later. So it's one of those stories that if you think about it too much, you start enjoying it slightly less. It's filmed beautifully. Tegan's leaving scene, marvellous. The supporting cast, including Lytton, can't fault them at all. It's just when you start thinking about people's motivations or why people are there or why they're not there or what's actually going on that you start really questioning everything. Whether it's style over substance, I just don't know. Suffice to say, it's not one of my all-time favourite stories now, but at the time I simply loved it. But you may already own this disc. I know lots of us already have bought it. So why bother? Well, as always, it's the extras. Now, this story was meant to go out as 4 25-minute episodes. But because of the Olympics or strikes or some such reason that really didn't bother me at all at the time, there were 2 45-minute episodes shown. Here, both discs, because they both contain a version of the story, I'm not quite sure about that, reasons behind that or why or whatever, but anyway, both of them contain the 4 25-minute versions of this story. However, so with disc 1 we get the original broadcast version, but it also has the option of watching it with 5.1 digital surround. That's the Dolby option. This disc 1, also comes with a commentary. Now this commentary is with Terry Malloy, Eric Saidwood and visual effects designer Peter Ragg, who went on to work on Red Dwarf. This is moderated by Nick Pegg. Another extra on this disc, Casting Far and Wide. Now this one's nearly 33 minutes long, and again it's Toby Haydock coming out to interview 5 of the jobbing actors who worked on the storyline about their careers and their experiences on the show. It's not all tongue-in-cheek, but Leslie Grantham's here, Roger Davenport, Del Haney, Jim Findlay and William Slay. Running at just over 18 minutes is On Location. Producer John Nathan Turner, director Matthew Robinson and writer Eric Sayward return to London Shad Thames to reminisce about the story in this major filming location. I suspect that one might be lifted from a Mythmakers disc. Extended and deleted scenes. This comes in at just over 7 minutes. There's Breakfast Time, where Janet Fielding and John Nathan Turner are interviewed on the Breakfast TV show on the BBC. On an item about the show's music and its sound effects. There's the trailer, running at just over 30 seconds. The Last Dalek. Now this is 8 minutes and 33. A behind-the-scenes look at Ealing Studios filming for the 1967 epic story Evil of the Daleks, Curtis Even 8mm film shot by designer Tony Carell, with narration by BBC effects designers Michael John Harris and Peter Day. Now I'm sure I've seen that before on another DVD, or did I just dream it? Perhaps the Out of Time box set. Either way, here we also have TARDIS Cam number 4, another nice model shot. We also have isolated music, and of course coming soon PDFs, program subtitles and subtitle production notes. And then on to disc 2. Here we've got the 4 episode version. Again we have the option of the 5.1 surround sound mix. Commentary here is with Peter Davis and Janet Fielding and the director Matthew Robinson. I think this is the commentary that was available last time. One of the extras, however, is Come In number 5, a retrospective of Peter Davison's tenure as the 5th Doctor. It's got Janet, it's got Mark, it's got Jonathan Turner, it's got Barry Lett, it's got Fiona Cumming. It's really in-depth. Bidmead, Saywood, Anthony Root, head of series and serials David Reed, and it's presented by David Tennant. This is great. It lasts nearly an hour. This is the jewel on this double set. Tomorrow's Times, presented by Fraser Hines, is another one in the same series where the Doctor's relationship with the press of the day is examined. Running at 1 minute 21, you've got a really odd little thing called Walrus. It was apparently found in the BBC archives. A Welsh woman comes face to face with a Dalek who's determined to make her speak in a monotone. I'll let you judge for yourself on that one. Again, photo gallery, coming soon, PDF stuff, and our lovely production notes. And that's about it. It's a 6-disc set, crammed with extras, absolutely full to the gunnels of stuff that'll while away your hours. If you don't already own these stories, genuinely nip out and get them. If you do own these stories, think very carefully as to whether you want to get them straight away or just hang on until they're in a sale. It's your call, but I truly enjoyed them. And so until I speak to you again, reasonably soon, be seeing you. You have been listening to the Tin Dog Podcast. Doctor Who and its associated shows are all trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. Contact us at tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk.